Hey everyone, welcome to Moving Matt. We do all things cameras with a dash of vlogs and a little bit of travel. And it looks like the Canon R5C is set to be announced on January 19th. And according to Canon rumors, that's not all. So if you happen to be unfamiliar with the R5C, essentially it is an R5. It will have all the same photo capabilities as the R5, except it will be set up more for a video-centric user. It will add an internal fan to help mitigate the overheating issues that the R5 had. And it will also have the digital hot shoe from the R3, which will allow you to add different accessories such as the XLR audio input. Now, while we know a lot about the R5C, there's definitely still some important questions that are yet to be answered. For example, will they add C-Log 2, which is a color profile that will allow you to get the best dynamic range out of this camera? Canon rumors has suggested in the past that Canon is still having internal debates about that issue, which I'm sure they resolved by now since they're going to be announcing it on the 19th. Another big question we have is, will Canon finally remove the record limits, the annoying 30-minute record limits from their cameras? I assume since this is going to be kind of a cinema style camera, they will remove the 30-minute limit, especially since in most conditions, this camera should not overheat. And finally, the biggest question that we have left to be answered is, how much will this cost? Now, this is where we can talk about some of the other announcements because I think they may give us some hints about what this may cost. So the first announcement that I think gives us the biggest clue is that the C70 will have a firmware update that will allow it to have 12-bit internal RAW, and this will be in Canon RAW Lite. I think this points to the R5C costing quite a bit less because by adding this firmware, it's a way to appease some of the C70 owners and maybe make this pill a little bit easier to swallow. My thoughts on this camera for a while now is that it will probably only cost somewhere around $100 more to manufacture this camera, considering they're adding a fan and maybe they're changing up the body slightly, adding maybe a better heat sink. Those are a few different things that they may do, adding that digital hot shoe. Let's say that it costs them $100 more. So I think if they place this thing somewhere between $4,500 and $4,700, that's essentially a $500 to $700 more profit per camera that they sell. I think if they try to push the price too much higher than that, then it will lose a lot of that upsell appeal that I think it will have. Now, moving on to a few of the other things that may be announced, Canon rumors suspects that there is going to be other cinema cameras announced at this event, as well as some cinema lenses, and they believe that Canon is going all in on 8K, which will be another reason why the R5C won't encroach too much into their cinema line. Now, a couple candidates that this camera could be are the rumored C300S and the C500S. These cameras were supposed to be coming out at NAB 2021, but NAB was delayed or actually canceled altogether, so they got pushed on into the future, or at least that was what the rumors were coming from Canon rumors. Now, the Canon C300S is supposed to be a Super 35 camera that is capable of 8K 60 and 4K 120. It will have a dual gain sensor, which will allow it to have 16 stops of dynamic range. It's also supposed to be a BSI stack sensor, so it will be very fast. It will have dual pixel AF along with a 10 millisecond readout speed and dual digit DV8 processors. Now, the C500S will be a big brother to this camera, and it will essentially have the same specs, except it will have a full frame sensor, which will allow it to get up to 17 plus stops of dynamic range. Now, in the past, there was also mention of a 4K cinema camera that will have incredible dynamic range, somewhere around 20 stops, which is absolutely nuts. But since Canon rumors is now saying they're going all in on 8K, that may mean that that's one of the cameras that got put on the chopping block, but we will have to wait and see. Either way, this event is shaping up to be pretty exciting, or at least it is to me. This will be on January 19th at 7 a.m. Eastern Standard Time, and I will definitely be making a video on that day talking about all that's announced. And if you'd like to stay up to date, consider subscribing. If you've liked this video, be sure to give it a thumbs up, and until next time, peace.